Good morning and welcome to the Wimbledon Spiritualist Church. I hope that you're well, and if you're joining them for the first time, a really great welcome. And if you're one of our regulars, then it's just wonderful to be able to be with you again. And I also want to introduce you. We do have a congregation here this morning, which is wonderful. We have our own Phil Shaw, who will be our medium this morning, but we have Lorraine that's joined us, Mary, Kelly and Steve, George, Barbara, Rosie and Shirley, and we may end up with a few more during the course of the morning. And Julie Caswell was saying good morning to us, so very much welcome to you. And Tracy Honey, so it's lovely to recognise some of you that have joined us physically over these few months at church, but also virtually. So it is lovely to be back with you. So let's hope that we can maintain that. And Dawn, it's lovely to see and hear from you. I know you've served our church as a medium, so it's been nice again next year to see you back at the church. But it's also nice to know that you're joining in the family here this morning. So what I'm going to do is ask our dear friend Phil, we have an Italian connection with Claire. So I wonder if that is the Claire that we used to have here in the church, because I know she now lives in Italy. But we're going to get Phil to open up in prayer for us. So if all of you, can just imagine yourself here at the church and just closing your eyes as we invoke our spiritual presence. So thank you very much, Phil. If you'd like to come over.
Good morning, everybody. Can you please join me in prayer? Great Spirit, Divine Creator, and source of all life and inspiration, we thank you for the privilege of being able to gather in this sanctuary of peace, joy, and upliftment today, to celebrate as a unified body the creation of life, our existence here on planet Earth, and how we may bestow our talents and creative abilities to the best possible, in the best possible way. We thank you for all the privileges we enjoy as individuals in this earthly life, and we extend to you our ability to be of service in any way possible that we can be, both spiritually and physically. We thank you for the ability to be able to join with us physically today and think of all those who are not as privileged as we are here gathered today, but are waiting for the opportunities that will surely come to them to expand their social contact and be able to work and walk with their friends and families again along the pathway of life. We say prayers for the animal kingdom, our brethren who support and love us unconditionally, and we ask that they be blessed with the power of the Spirit to continue in their particular way of evolution and the giving of unconditional love. We ask that all wars and all aggravation that is present within beings on this planet be alleviated in the fullness of time, so that we may enjoy the splendor of our earthly life and be able to cooperate amicably and in unison with all other beings to further the light and the love that is available to all in the way of service and of cooperation to our divine source and the planet itself. We thank you, O Lord, for all these privileges and for a new vision of the future which embraces the compatibility and the unification of man, woman, child, and animal, and ask that we all be blessed as we move forward into those pathways of service and light. Amen.
Now we've actually had a change in our service the last couple of weeks where we're no longer saying the Lord's Prayer, but we're actually saying the Serenity Prayer, for the words of the Serenity Prayer to give us all inspiration and hope in these times. So if we can all say the serenity prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Now, we have two collections here this morning. We have the one that people can put into the box physically when they come into the church hall, and we also have a separate collection box for Crisis at Christmas that we are trying to continue to support, because if this year didn't teach us that really there are so many people that are going to be going without this year, that we do need to try and concentrate on that. And for those of you that are joining us virtually, you can pay via the PayPal by going on the https://www.paypal.com/paypalme/LAD-proms. And there have been one or two people that have been doing this recently, so we appreciate, while the church has been closed, we've still had bills, standing charges for our telephone and electric and all our other bills. And it does make you worry about the very small churches that are just about scraping by generally before the forced lockdown and the two forced lockdowns that we've had. So in our healing thoughts this morning, I have a list that I'm going to read in a moment, but I want us to think of all the individuals that have been affected by the lockdown, by the pandemic. Obviously those that have lost loved ones, those that have loved ones on beds of sickness, and those that have even had the long COVID. But those also that have lost their career, their livelihood. You know, they may have had a shop that has had to close, they may have had a cafe, they may be struggling to try and reopen, but not sure where they are or how long they will be there. And if we think of those families, then think also that, you know, their children at Christmas time, and there be, you know, much more of a struggle for them, the mental anxiety of not being able to provide in other years as they have done, and not knowing what the future holds. And what we need to do is to continue to be light workers and to send love around the universe and the world, so that we can send thoughts to those individuals and all the frontline staff that go in every day and they're not sure whether or not they're going to, you know, be speaking with people or dealing with people that may be ill and not symptomatic. So think of those individuals, but as I say, we do know that next year will bring a great deal of lightness. You know, with the Christmas season, you know, part of that, the very end of December, is the beginning of the light returning and the lights becoming earlier in the evening or staying longer with us, just by 5 minutes or so. You know, once we get to the winter solstice and then the equinox, and, you know, all the different religions all have that in the bringing back of the light to the world. So that's only a few weeks away. So we will start to see a light. And by that time, coincidentally, it will also be the time of seeing the light with people, with vaccinations, with people beginning to be well from all of the lockdowns that we've had. And knowing that next year we'll have the spring, we'll begin to be able to be out in the fresh air again. So we're almost out of it, and we're almost out of this year. I remember saying last year at Christmas, we were going into a new decade, the 2020s, and what it had in store. Well, it has had a lot of darkness for people, but let's try and reinstate that light. And let's reinstate that light for the healing for those individuals. Let's imagine now, and all our virtual people, all our people in church that we can't give a hug to, that we can't give a cuddle to, that are going to be by themselves over this period of a few weeks in the darkest times. So let's imagine our arms spread around the world and all of our loved ones. And as I say, we want to send thoughts. There's a lady, Natalie, that's saying her 5-year-old daughter has been confirmed as having COVID. So let's think of Natalie Bennett. and her family. Let's think of Wendy Payne and her family, we haven't heard of for some time with Wendy. Amber and Jill, Kate Hawthorne, my own Rachel, Claire, Catalan, Lorna Henderson, Shirley, who's not been her best, to Bernie, who's had a bad time down in Portsmouth, to our own dear Jim, that's now having to quarantine ready for a hospital procedure, and hopefully will be joining us virtually, and all of those that are in all of the healing books that are in churches that are open, and all of the healing groups. If we can just have a few seconds where we think of those individuals, and also in that asking for healing for ourselves, because none of us have had an easy journey. None of us could have gone through this period of the last few weeks and months without it feeling its toll on us. And what we have to do is remember to ask Spirit, to ask our angels, and when we're not coping well, to ask our angels to take that burden from us and to show us the way so that we move with the tide, in those words of the Serenity Prayer, that we actually have to go with the flow and adapt. That's one thing we've certainly had to do, and I've had to learn new technology. So we will need a little bit of healing in that respect. So if we just close our eyes, imagine a wonderful golden light around all those individuals that have been poorly, that are poorly, and just imagine the earth in wonderful healing glow of energy. Whether you know you're a healer or don't know that you're a healer, all healing comes as that positive energy, and it all makes a difference. As we send that love and healing out to our healing angels, we know that thy work will be done. Amen. Okay. Now I have a reading that I'd like to share with you. I'll just grab my book. And this reading comes from a spiritualist manual, NSAC, and it's from North America, and it's their spiritualist organisation out there. And it's called Power of Spirits. And I know in Phil's invocation earlier, he was talking about the power of spirit. How great the power of spirits, a host of invisible intelligences, exalted and wise, surround us everywhere. They cause men to purify their hearts and rectify their lives. They are everywhere, beside us, around us, above us. Millions of spiritual beings walk the earth, unseen, both when we wake and when we sleep. All these with ceaseless praise, by day and by night, behold the work of the infinite intelligence and adore them. Are they not all ministering spirits, sent forth to minister to those who walk in the light, and to save those who walk in the darkness? Yes, the angels attend the pure in heart and surround them with a halo of light and melody. They come to lead the weary pilgrims from the rude scenes of this life to the mansions of the blessed. They come to guide the erring one and win his heart. They breathe a holy calm into the wounded heart. The glory of thy presence dissipates the darkness of the world. Who are these angel ministers? They are the wise and good of every age, of every land, who come laden with love to bless, cheer, and comfort sorrowing mankind. Under their loving tuition, our spiritual senses may be unfolded so that they both appear and speak to us. O angels of light and wisdom, we solicit your presence with us this day, that you may illumine our minds, quicken our understanding, warm our hearts, and strengthen our adherence to truth. May your light drive away the mists of doubt and superstition from our minds, so that the light of the divine truth may be ours forever. Thank you for listening to me. Now we will be asking Phil for the address, if he's ready to be able to come and speak to us. Dawn is saying, tears rolling down her face while sending out healing. She felt so close to us all. And love to you back, Dawn. If you please give all your love to Phil for his address.
Thank you, Jackie. Good morning again, everybody. It's a great privilege to be speaking in my beautiful Wimbledon Spiritualist Church that I've been a member of for over 30 years. And every time I work within this, I call it a sanctuary of peace and love, I'm really filled and overwhelmed with the energy and the power that resides within the atmosphere and the walls of this building. It's a place of refuge for me and for so many other people, where we can come to be at one with our divine source and the love that emanates from recognizing and acknowledging that divine source, because that divine source resides within each and every one of us, whether we be man, woman, child, animal. The divine source is our birthright. And I listened to Jackie talking about the power of the Spirit and the power that we each possess individually to express that Spirit, whether we are aware of the fact that we carry within us the ability to project and share this power is an interesting way to speculate about the use of the Spirit and how we have chosen personally to utilize our ability to express Spirit. So I think this is something, the power of the Spirit, that we can afford to think about more, to contemplate more, to be able to rest in and luxuriate in, just as we would get into our bath at the end of a busy day when all our muscles are tired and aching and our minds are cluttered with earthly thoughts, and to just be able to get into that bath and relax. Why don't we get into a bath, a metaphorical bath of power, and enjoy that whole release of the ability to connect with power, and really allow the power to work with us, feeling it work with us 24/7, every day of the week. Because we're all guilty of maybe paying lip service to the concept of power. So we say on a Sunday when we come to church, right, I'm coming to church, so I'm going to focus, I'm going to be in the power, whatever that represents for me. I'm going to hold that power within me when the service is being given and when the clairvoyance is being delivered. And then when I go home, I continue maybe thinking a little bit about the power that I've shared and the power that I've received. But maybe then that starts to dissipate over the rest of the Sunday, and then the beginning of the week, our minds are cluttered with work and family and everything else. So we do tend to let that connection with power slide. And wouldn't it be lovely if we could really just stay connected like a plug in a socket to that power? I'm not saying that that power doesn't have the ability to operate through us when we're not consciously recognizing its potency. But what we really need to be conscious of is the fact that it's working all the time. And if we only gave ourselves more time, as we perhaps do to meditation or contemplation or spiritual learning, then we would feel the greater force. May the force be with you, as Star Wars aptly reminds us of. We would be conscious of that power and how to not intellectually use it, but to use it in a way that it is operative on its own behalf. And the power of the Spirit, as Jackie said, leads us into an area of illumination, because illumination is something that we are totally used to within our lives. It's not a strange concept. Spiritual illumination may be unfamiliar to some people and more familiar to others, but we are illuminated throughout our lives. We are illuminated when we wake in the morning, We are illuminated when we see the sunrise, because the sun gives its power and its energy to us. So it bestows illumination and power of the Spirit. And illumination comes in many other forms. It comes in recognition of ideas and creative instincts and concepts that perhaps we are not consciously aware of, but when we come face to face with them, or when they are stimulated within us, we begin to recognize and understand and to appreciate and to luxuriate, again, that lovely word luxuriate, in the power of illumination, and how that illumination can then send us on a road, on a trajectory towards some form of personal or collective fulfillment that in other ways may not have been possible if we were so locked into our conscious mind and mentality that we didn't allow or make time for illumination to light up our lives. So illumination, it comes from within, it comes externally as well. And when it comes externally, we are often surprised because we are not always aware of the fact that we were ready and open to being stimulated and illuminated in that way. And we stop and we think, now this is interesting because I wasn't aware of being able to consciously recognize those feelings last week or last month or last year, and yet suddenly, because person X, Y, or Z has said this to me, or I have listened to an inspiring address at my church or in another church, that was the moment when suddenly my whole being was filled with a sense of wonderment and a sense of expectation and a sense of wanting to share the love that I have for the Spirit and the love that I have for my church and the love that I have for other people, not only in my community, but on a much wider level of social interaction. And isn't it wonderful, friends, that we are now living through a period of time when not only do we feel restricted by the sense that we are not able to physically communicate physically with people that we are used to communicating with and mixing with and sharing with, because we have had these restrictions imposed upon us, but equally we are in a time of greater connection, a more widespread connection by virtue of the internet and all this wonderful technology which has brought us in many, many ways closer together, which may not have happened and probably wouldn't have happened had we not been under the restrictions that we currently experience. So these new forms of communication, these new forms of being connected to others in a worldwide, on a global capacity, this of itself is part of the process of illumination, because we have been lit up, our lives have been lit up by the fact that there are opportunities for us to make even more connections and more social contact in ways that we didn't think was possible. So we thank you, Father, Great Spirit, Divine Source, for these new forms of inspiration and illumination. And we come back to the word power, because power in itself is energy, and energy is available to us constantly, every single moment of our lives. It's how we use that energy, how we manifest that energy, that is the key issue here. Because either power can be used destructively, it can be used egotistically, it can be used in the way that our dictators use it to maintain control and authority over minority groups and social situations. But the power, the energy, can also be used for the good. So I think what we face here in these confrontational and challenging times is the ability to be able to assess on a personal level how we choose to use energy, how we choose to manipulate that energy in the best possible way and distribute that energy. Because if you think, my friends, of the sea and how it moves forward onto the shore and then retreats back into itself, there's a forward and a backward motion. And this is what we are doing with our energy, with our power. We are taking it in and we are giving it out. If we take it in and we don't give it out with positivity and with a constructive attitude, then we are going to accumulate power for the wrong reasons. The energy is going to congest within ourselves, and that can present us with many, many different kinds of problems, which then stop the true form of communication that we are capable of, which is the distribution of the energy, of the power, in ways that can be of benefit to our friends, our family, and to civilization as we know it. So I would leave you with these thoughts, my friends, on the power of the Spirit and the power to illuminate the Spirit through a constructive mindset that puts ourselves to one side and focuses on how the power and the illumination can be used constructively and beneficially for the benefit of mankind. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. A very inspiring address. Oh, June's just saying, wonderful address, Phil. We definitely need some inner illumination right now. So it's lovely that June links with us. I spoke to her in the week with June, and she's well, and David's well. And Olwyn is saying, good address, Phil, thank you. So it's lovely that we're hearing from Olwyn. And Dawn is saying, bless you, Phil, for a lovely address. And I say June and Dave have got very elderly individuals they're looking after. They're going to go and see a great uncle. Oh, and there's a Petra is saying, thank you, Phil, as well. So it's nice, Petra. I know you're some distance away. Julie's saying, lovely address. And as I say, June and Dave made the decision. They needed to be in a bubble for, you know, June's mum's 93. So we understand that, and we know that this is the link that we're able to carry on seeing and hearing from our church members that are unable to be with us physically. And Christine Mararis is saying, lovely address, Phil. I know that we see Christine's name quite a bit. Heidi Spicer is another one that comes on and joins us virtually. So lovely to see Mr. Shaw, she's saying. And Kim, our lovely Kim, is saying lovely address. So it's great to know that you're with us, Kim, and love to your mum. I'm sure your mum's probably watching. Anne Hopkins is also saying beautiful address. We hope that many of you will be able to join us back next year when things go a little bit back to normal. Michelle Joy Hull is saying, lovely address, Phil, thank you. And that puts us into a lovely feeling of love, ready for Phil's demonstration of mediumship. And Ruth Townsend is saying, thank you. If we can keep that vibration at that higher level and also give our love, and when we're answering up to give that love and attention, you know, you might find, oh, well, if I'm not physically there, I can't do that. But you can, actually. It's in, you know, if you believe that Phil is with you, then it's answering up by using your finger on that keyboard and giving love and opening up your mind to it might not be my family, it could be my in-laws, you know, and understanding, you know, thinking a little bit outside the box, but also just, you know, listening to interpretation and taking what you can from that. But, you know, just go with that love, because just as Phil was talking with an individual, imagine that you've opened your front door to them and you're inviting them in with that love, because they will also know that. Oh, and Peter is saying, beautiful dress, Philo. So I don't know if that's a nickname, Philo. Or it's just, yeah, Phio. So it could be that. I know when I was using the Zoom earlier in the week and having to type quickly for people, that I wasn't always able to put the right word, and then you see it afterwards, you think, oh, I meant to put that word next to it. Oh, and Cheryl said her cat's been listening intently to you both. So Cheryl, it's lovely to know that you're also with us in this collective family that we have. Because after all, it's our spiritual family that gets us through the difficult times, and we know that we can rely on one another. And George Horrell is saying, lovely reading. Oh, thank you, Georgie. And hopefully Phil is now ready to demonstrate his gifts of mediumship. So over to you again, Phil, with love. Thank you.
Hello once again, everybody. It's a great pleasure, and it's a great delight to be utilising all the power that's building up in the church today as I link with the world of spirit. So I'm going to do my best to work with the virtual congregation and also the people present in the church today. And if I should come to you, please remember that the link may not be somebody that you may immediately recognize. It may be somebody from way back in the past. It could be a friend. It could be a neighbor. It could be somebody that taught you at school. It could literally be anybody. So I'd ask you to really keep an open mind. And as I'm linking, first of all, I'd like to come to somebody on the virtual link. And I've got a gentleman who would have passed into spirit probably in his late 50s, early 60s by the name of Michael. He's giving me the name of Michael. I'm sure that is his name that the gentleman is giving me. And he's also talking about hospital conditions that he passed in. He's saying that his passing was fairly quick towards the end of his life, when he would have had a short illness and then passed into spirit. He's very anxious to speak to his wife, who is online today. And he's also giving me a sense of him having put on quite a little bit of extra weight towards the end of his life with the illness that he was suffering from, which would have affected the lower part of his body and would have also caused him a shortage of breath and lung problems as well. He talks about his home and where he lived, and his home being very near a little common or an area of green where he liked to be able to walk and have some recreation. He's also talking about the month of February, and the month of February being significant in the family to him, because that was a period of time where his health suddenly started to go further downhill, and then it was only a matter of months before he passed. He's showing me himself as a gentleman with dark hair towards the end of his life, not altogether fully hair all over, but certainly quite a bit of hair on the side of his head, and then maybe thinning hair on the middle and the top half of his head. He's also showing me, or giving me, the impression that he was quite a robust man, and that he would take on any jobs, DIY or whatever, in the house that he could deal with and manage for himself. He's also talking about a sister here on the earth plane who is still living, and I'm wondering if we can connect to anybody online that might recognize that information so far. Not yet, right, okay. He's also talking about the fact that he had, with this breathing problem, he had a lot of problems being able to speak towards the end of his life. He's talking again about his wife, that he wishes he had been able to vocally communicate with more than he was able to at this point of shortly before passing into spirit as well. And I feel I'm definitely moving towards a wife, or a wife that somebody knows about that can communicate this information to his wife. But I do actually feel the wife is online here, and if not, then a friend of the wife is present. Nothing yet? Right, okay. I'm also getting a link with this gentleman to flying and the fact that he liked to fly. He liked to expand his knowledge of different countries, and therefore he would have traveled quite a lot, not necessarily on work, but also for holidays in his life as well. And he's also talking about his walking and his physical mobility being slightly impaired towards the end of his life. Is it able to see, am I able to see any names on the screen at all, Richard? Give me some names because I feel I might be able to link. I'm getting a message from Hannah saying that could be my cousin there for his wife. Right, okay. Is Hannah the only person that's flagging this up at the moment? Sounds like Petra, sounds like my uncle, but he didn't have a sister. He passed in Feb and had a good partner who was as good as a wife. Right, okay, thank you, Petra. Anybody else? Oh, and Petra's saying I can take it all, except the fact that he didn't have a sister. Right. Sometimes when I get a sister or a brother, it can sometimes mean that there is a person still on the earth plane who the communicator would have regarded as a sister or brother in terms of having that close connection, that close fondness and affection. So I do actually feel I'm being drawn to Petra here, and it's just accept the sister. Petra, can you take or rather identify with a lady that would still be living on the earth plane who this gentleman would have regarded as a sister or felt very close to in the sense of her fulfilling that role of a sister that he didn't actually have physically? He's also talking to me about the fact that he was a man that sought knowledge. I've told you about the traveling that he liked to do, but also he was a book reader. He wanted to expand his mind. He wanted to grow in knowledge and pass that knowledge on to others because he was a very assiduous learner at school, and he wanted to absorb a lot of information and pass that information on. He said quite often he was overloaded with information and he couldn't see the wood for the trees because he had so much knowledge, general knowledge in his mind, that it was difficult to filter that out sometimes. And you're talking about only a carer possibly that he might have regarded as a sister, because this person that he speaks of as sister was someone that he would have spent a certain amount of time with, quite a long amount of time with towards the end of his life. So they would have got to know each other very, very well on a very deep personal level. You're saying, yes, he always was seeking knowledge and loved reading. Yes, so I'm definitely with you, Petra, for this gentleman. And this is your uncle, I think you said earlier on, always giving me bits of knowledge. Yes. He also was a great lover of the sea, and he would like to be close to the sea and to water whenever possible, and possibly take out a sailing vessel. And he wanted really to, at times in his life, remove himself from the hubbub of everyday life and he was a very private individual man who would share his feelings when he felt he was safe to do that. But generally speaking, people would have said of him, oh, he's very difficult to get to know. He's not somebody that is an open book. You say, yes, I'm friends with his past carer on Facebook. Yes. He's talking about, I think I'm hearing Isabel, or is Isabel. And she would be somebody that he would have known on the earth plane. And I think that you would have known as well, possibly shortened from Isabel to Izzy, or that shortness of the name. So he's talking about Isabel. Yes, he was very private and difficult to get to know. Thank you, Petra. Right. All right. He had plans, just before I go on to give you his message to you, he had plans before his illness set in to either move location or he was thinking about making plans to either have a house built or to move to a location which was very different from the locations that he had lived in previously. He sort of went through a process of self-realization where he was trying to catch up a lot towards the end of his life with events and things that he hadn't personally found fulfillment in, and which he then determined he wanted to find fulfillment in. So part of his life was on track for changing quite radically. And this is something that was uppermost in his mind, and unfortunately he didn't have the time or the opportunity to see that to full fruition. And he had just moved, but he wanted to visit somewhere. Right, okay. Yes, he's telling me he moved, but he didn't move to the precise location or the house that was really in his dreams, the dream home or the dream location. This was going to be more of a makeshift move. You're telling me, yes, on catching up with things and people, including me. All right, thanks, Petra. So I've established his identity. You've accepted the facts that have been given. I'm feeling more and more that this carer was the person that he referred to as a sister, and you also mentioned Isabel as somebody that he would have known. Good. So let's just come to you now, Petra, and pass on the message. Yes. He says that you've been grappling over the last 18 months, 2 years, with ideas that you would like to put into fruition, that you would like to fulfill and expand in the sense of giving yourself a different, he's calling it a different construct to your life. Because you're feeling claustrophobic, you're feeling hemmed in, you're feeling as though you can't properly express the creative talents or potential which you know you possess and which are there to be used for the benefit of people, not only people you know, but in society generally, how you can demonstrate your particular gifts in the best possible way. You're telling me you can understand about his dream. Yes, because he says he shares your dreams with you. Yes, most definitely, so many ideas. Good. Because he's going to help you and has been helping you to really put some of these dreams and need to fulfill into place, and how to bring about the changes that are necessary to accommodate your desire to change. Yes, there's one particular gentleman, he tells me at the moment, on the physical plane now, who has been trying to not consciously obstruct your development, but has been filling your mind or trying to fill your mind with ideas that in some way will hold you back, and that you've been listening to, but you've been trying to resist the feeling of being influenced by this particular person. There's a certain amount of, let us say, jealousy is quite a hard word, but it's something along those lines where you don't feel completely comfortable with this man, and that you would prefer to follow your own instinct, your own path. Thank you very much. The gentleman's telling me now that as you've started to rely more and more on your personal instinct, these instincts have paid off. Because once you put your instincts into action, then you can see the tangible results, rather than keeping stuck in your head and trying to work it all out logically and rationally. Because he says so much of what he tried to do was hindered by his own conscious mind, trying to be rational, trying to be intellectual, rather than just letting go and letting God. That's how he puts it, letting go and letting God. So I hope you can understand that, Petra. And you're saying, fabulous, I need help. Yes. He says the help that you need, Petra, is within you. Once you accept those aspects of your personality that you've been pushing away in the past, and allow those personality aspects to assist you in producing or manifesting these dreams and these ideas for your future, then you will really start to fly. Okay, and you're saying great advice, thank you. It's a pleasure, Petra. And that was your message today. And your contact sends, your uncle sends his love to you. Thank you. Right, I'm linking now with, I want to come to somebody in the congregation here. I'm linking to a lady that would have either worked in the nursing profession or been very inspired by people who work in the nursing profession. And I'm going to come, where am I coming to? I'm being pulled over here, and I'm coming to Lorraine, I think. Okay. Yes. So this is on a friendship link, Lorraine. It's not a family link. And this lady would have passed of cancer, a cancer condition. And she's taken me back about 10, 12 years in Earth time now. She's somebody that you would have known or worked with, not for a long period of time. You understand who this is? Yes. She's giving me the name of Rosemary, Rose or Rosemary, whether that's her name or whether that's somebody that would have linked. Oh, she's telling me that's somebody that would have linked with both of you, Rosemary, who was a mutual contact. All right, all right. She's also talking to me about the name of Charlie living.
I know
Charlie, who hasn't been particularly well. And she's saying that a lot of his unwellness is connected to mental health issues and the fact that he has been withdrawing physically from social life. I mean, I know we've all been affected by that to an extent, but he was like that before even lockdown came into play. All right, okay. Are you in contact with this gentleman?
No.
You're not. Although he does, his name comes up in conversation. She's telling me. And she says also that you have a sister here.
Yes, I do. Yes,
yes, an older sister.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Who was a nurse. Right, okay. And this lady would have known this. Would have known your sister.
Would, yeah.
She would, yes. Because she said there was a strong friendship link with your sister.
Yeah.
And she said that she's been concerned about your sister's health. And that a lot of the concern about the health is due to the fact that your sister is somebody, again, who's very much congested in her mind.
Yeah.
And that congestion has affected other areas of the body, which have become more and more, I'm going to call it, not totally immobile, but certainly very
you're correct.
Restricted. Yes, yes. She's also talking to me about, okay, thank you. She's showing herself more to me now. She's drawing closer. And she's showing me somebody that was not particularly tall,
Right.
a medium height, and she said she had quite a slender frame. Yes.
I know she's talking.
She's also given me links to Ireland here.
We're both Irish descent.
Both Irish descent, okay. She's, her father's in spirit. No, right. Because she's talking about Father, she said to me, Father Spirit.
Right.
Now, I'm not going to let my mind interfere with that, but I'm certainly aware from what she's giving me that her father, has not been too well.
Correct.
Right. And she's saying that Father has been going through periods of moving in and out of physical consciousness.
Right.
Are you aware of that?
I'm not in touch with her, but I can find out.
All right, all right. Because she said, when she said Father Spirit, I know that she meant that Father has been going in and out.
He took it worse. It's quite a recent passing, and he took it the worse.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
And the mother is in spirit.
Mother's here.
Mother's here?
Yeah, my mom's in spirit.
No.
Yeah, her mum is here.
Okay, she's talking about mother in spirit.
Okay.
That's all she said, not your mother, mother in spirit. All right, okay. Mother in spirit had, was there some kind of swelling of the face or the body in some way, and particularly the legs?
Swelling in the legs, yeah.
Of your mum?
Yeah.
Because your mum's been standing in the background and she's slightly moving forward now, but she said to me, I'm not used to doing this.
No.
I don't know whether this is the first time she's communicated, but she said, this is new to me, and Rosemary, this other lady, has brought her in.
Okay.
Yes? And Rosemary's laughing because she said, do you remember how I was always eating and picking at things because I couldn't stick to a proper diet? That's you, is it? Oh, she's talking about eating, but couldn't stick to a proper diet. And she's saying she met Stephen in spirit.
My mum's brother.
In spirit?
Yeah.
Yes. And she said Stephen is much better now at being able to communicate. And not just communicate as we're doing now, but communicate with others in spirit, because he was so introverted.
Yes, he was.
Yes. She's also asking you what you've done with that pendant that you used to wear, that suddenly you went through a phase of not wanting to wear it.
Yeah,
You just...
I usually wear it, but I haven't got it on today.
You haven't got it on today. Okay. It's very nice because it's got one main stone and then it's got two little sort of stones on either side of the main stone.
Yeah.
Right. Who's Reggie she's talking about on the earth plane?
I'll have to think about that.
Okay, she's talking about Reggie on a friendship link. Okay. I'm slightly going to separate a little bit Rosemary and Mum because Mum wants to come further forwards here. All right. Your mum really enjoyed singing, didn't she?
She did, yeah.
Yeah, because she's talking about how she listens to you sometimes when you're singing, and you're singing her favourite song.
I do.
Yes. She's laughing at that, and she said, do you remember when we had a party, and she's talking about your dad?
Yeah.
And she said he got up and tried to play the fiddle.
Yeah, he can play anything.
Right, she's calling it the fiddle as opposed to the violin.
Okay.
The fiddle. She said, for goodness sake, she's quite an insistent lady when she gets going. She said, for goodness sake, do something about the feet because they've been bothering you and they need to be dealt with. You understand? Okay. Okay, just want to go back quickly on your sister here and the mind congestion. All right. She's quite resistant to taking medication that she's not used to. And certainly if it came to alternative therapy, she wouldn't really want to entertain it. But your mum's saying that could be quite helpful for her. As you know, we don't diagnose, but herbal medicine of some kind, if it's investigated, it could be very, very useful. Yeah. She's talking about, sorry, come on. She's giving me the name of Marshall as a surname. Somebody that would have been... You moved house, didn't you, a few years ago?
Not recently.
No. I'm going to go back about 7, 8, 9 years. Yeah. Because you used to live in quite a small road then. I don't know whether it's a cul-de-sac or it was like a small close.
Yeah.
Yes. And there was a lady living in that area by the name of Marshall.
Okay.
Because she's giving me the number, Mum's giving me the number 26.
Right,
okay. Something like, is there Pendrid Close, or begins with a P and I can't get the full word. Does that make any?
not at the moment.
Okay, Penrose. No? Anyway, Mrs. Marshall was a lady that lived in, because you used to do shopping for various people.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This lady was somebody that you'd done shopping for and you'd helped her. All right. Because she used to grow roses in your garden.
My mum did.
Yeah, your mum. And did you live near your mum then? Yeah, because your mum grew roses, and Mrs. Marshall, this lady, she used to come and admire the roses in the garden.
Okay, I'll find out her surname.
All right. Your mum's just saying she has the cat with her. All right?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, and I'll leave their love with you, Lorraine, and thank you very much. Right. I'm coming back to the virtual world now, and I want to bring forward a young gentleman by the name, he's given me the name Stephen, but he would have been known as Steve. And yes, I will. He was involved in a car accident. He wasn't driving, he was a passenger, but he was involved in a car accident, and this would have been probably 7, 8 years ago of Earth time. And he's talking about the fact that he used to go out on regular socializing with his friends, and on one particular occasion, he happened to be in this car that unfortunately was involved in a crash. It wasn't the fault of the driver whose car he was in, but nevertheless, it was fatal as far as he and another passenger were concerned. He's talking about a brother that he still has living. He's talking about his mum that he wishes to connect with. And he's talking about the fact that when he was living in the earth body, and he would have passed into spirit probably at the age of late 20s, early 30s, he was very much a collector of things. He loved to collect memorabilia. He was a great fan of watching films and TV. So he was an avid memorabilia collector, and he also loved his football. And he was a very energetic young man. He's showing me himself as somebody that would have been quite tall. I'd put him at about probably 5'9", 5'10", and he was very popular with his family, his friends, and masses of energy and life in him. So he wants to connect to a lady here again who would be either the mother or can connect to the mother, but I'm hoping that the mother is here. There's also a sister here living as well that he wishes to connect with, and I'm getting the name Steve or Stephen. Will we have anybody there, Richard, please? Yes. All right, okay. So, pardon? So thank you. Yes, he's showing me a dog as well that would be with him in spirit, and this would be a golden, I'm seeing a golden retriever dog here, who he's looking after and saying that he's very so pleased to be reunited with this particular dog. And he wants to give a lot of energy to, here we have Maxine Podmore saying, I know a Stephen who died in a car crash. Thank you, Maxine. And does the other information that Stephen's been giving me fit with the Stephen that you would know? He's also talking about crossword puzzles, and that he was very keen on doing crosswords and working puzzles out in his mind. He would have been good at anything that involved mental strategy and Sudoku and all these kinds of games that we play. He's a great music lover. He says, I still listen to my music. Yeah, he's really excited about being here today because he said this is really the first time he's communicated, and he didn't think he'd be as good at communicating to me as he thought he might be, initially coming through a medium. If we don't have, thank you, Maxine, it was over 8 years ago, right? Okay, good, that's a good time frame. And he's talking about the fact that he had been in employment, in work, in an office situation shortly before he passed, but he was looking to get out of that particular job and do something that was, yes, I will, do something that was much closer to his own heart and to his own need to grow and expand himself here. Because I don't know whether he was, he's not commenting on this, but I don't know whether he was in the army or had done a spell of time in the army as a sort of a trainee recruit. He certainly wasn't stationed overseas or in another country, but it was something that he loved, the camaraderie of being with people of his own age and men of his own age, and being very action orientated. But at the same time, he was an extremely sensitive soul and would do a lot to help other people who he felt had a desire to talk and express their feelings, but felt closed in. He's talking to me now about the fact that from spirit, he's working with a lot of guides that are dealing with men particularly who are of a suicidal nature, and how the suicide rate in men, particularly under 40, has escalated, and how Spirit are working very stringently with all these people, people that are coming over to Spirit from having committed suicide. And he said that's not something that he would have contemplated ever, but it's something that he feels he can be very useful in helping with on Spirit's side to help. Yes, I will. He's talking to me about a friend of his. He's talking about Paul, who he said attempted to take his own life, but then didn't, and got his life back on track. And this is why my communicator here has been very interested in looking to help all these men that are very confused. You'd have to ask on that, Maxine. Okay, fine, but all the other information is making sense to you. And you understand? Would you understand about the dog, the golden retriever that he talks about in Spirit that is with him? He said he even started getting interested just before his passing, he started getting interested, thank you Maxine for that, yes. He started getting interested in not spiritualism as such, but in a spiritual philosophy of life. So he would veer towards studies like Buddhism, or not in a great immersive sense, but he would dip in and out of Eastern philosophy, Western philosophy, Egyptian philosophy, and he gained a lot of knowledge from that, and an ability to open himself up more to how he could be of use. And I think had he lived physically for longer, he would have spent a lot more time exploring those subjects. And he said, yeah, he's sort of jumping up and down and saying, I love the whole aspect of how we can generate philosophy and more spiritual understanding, particularly with younger people. Now, I'm going to give you your message, Maxine, because he's telling me that you are somebody as well that has investigated or dipped in to different areas of spiritual understanding, and how you yourself have been going through a period of time where you've been quite mentally confused and uncertain about the way forward, because you thought you had it all mapped out 2 or 3 years ago, and then suddenly along came this huge wake-up kind of call through an experience that you went through, a personal experience of yours, and how that wake-up call really puts you a lot more into the driving seat. So how you've been able to take the ball by the horns and really decide now that you're not going to waste, I'm not saying you wasted time, but how you postponed furthering opportunities that had presented themselves to you, which you didn't at that time choose to follow. But now, because you're there's a much greater conviction within you to serve your true purpose, you've taken another pathway which is beginning to really feel deeply satisfying and fulfilling for you. And I hope you can understand that, Maxine. He's also talking about the fact that you like to be amongst nature, particularly amongst nature and animals and wildlife, and how, again, you take yourself off into moments of replenishment, away from the madding crowd, he calls it. And yes, I will. Okay. Talking about your love of music. And he's also saying that there was a concert that you were due to have gone to. I don't know whether it was, he's not saying where, but a big concert that you had to postpone. You couldn't get there, and you're hoping that at some point when that comes round again, or you're able to see this particular group or band or whatever, that you can go and you can really enjoy that. He's also talking about a lady called Leslie or Les that you know on the physical plane, and how you've been helping to support this particular lady who's been having a lot of confusion and problems in terms of a relationship. So thank you. You're saying yes, thank you to the previous information I gave you. Good. Okay. So can you take the information about the concert and also the friend who he refers to as Les or Leslie? He's also talking about the fact that you've been adding up figures. You've been trying to work something out as to a form of expenditure. You're not sure about the concert or Leslie. All right, okay. I'll try and get more information on that for you. Okay, and Lenka's saying how amazing it fits for me too. Had a wake-up call by your mother. Okay, fine. I think at the moment, Lenka, I'm still with Maxine, so I'll just pursue that. But this concert would have been about 2 or 3 years ago, Maxine, and it was something that you had wanted to see, and you're saying figures, yes. Now, I'm not sure what you're saying figures yes to, whether that means figures yes to the concert or figures about what I told you about your life and how you're getting it into a track that is much more replenishing and satisfying for you personally. All right. So if you could just let me know about that. And it's you or somebody else. He's giving me just some information here. Is driving a car or going to drive another car or driving a new car? Because he's showing me a new car. And this is something that somebody has wanted to get and is now going to be getting this particular car. He's playing me Barbara Streisand music, Barbara Streisand songs. And he seems to love this, or love Barbara Streisand and the way she sings. And he says that you in particular are somebody that loves to surround yourself with music. You're saying adding figures up. You've been doing that. Yes, sorry, I got sort of deflected when I was talking to you about the figures. You're adding the figures up in terms of whether or not you will be able to afford to not make a major house move or anything like that, but that you'll be able to make an acquisition of some kind, which will be part of a new setup for you in terms of business. He's also talking about the fact that you have wanted to set some kind of business up at home or are now thinking through the lockdown and what we've experienced. Your son's bought a new car, thank you. What we've experienced through lockdown, that it may be possible for you to spend some time working from home in your business, or that you would like to work exclusively from home, and that now is a possibility, a much more realistic possibility than it had been before. All right? He's saying for you not to worry too much about your mum and the ups and downs that she's been going through, because that will sort itself out, and a new situation is presenting itself for the family, for your family, which will, he's calling it, declutter a lot of the mess that's been around, a lot of the confusion that's been around you. And that partly has been due to you not being able to decide where you wanted to go and which direction you wanted to go in your career. So all that's coming into a much lighter phase and state of being, all right? And that's all looking very, very positive. Okay. I don't know whether you've ever, divorce costs are the figures you're telling me. I would like to do more spiritual from home. Mum already in spirit, right? Okay. Yes, I think I said to you that Mum was in a state of, did I say state of confusion or getting sorted out in some way? She is still sorting out and unraveling confusion that was caused while she was here in the body. And she's needing to approve still, she's needing to approve more of herself and gain more self-respect, which she is doing in spirit. All right. She's saying that, yes, because she's coming in fairly quickly now, and she's saying that she wasn't understood. Yes, divorce costs, thanks. She wasn't understood in the way that she wished she had been understood, because she was very quick to give an opinion and very quick to give her feelings about situations when she said, I should have kept it. sometimes it would have been more advisable to do that. So, but she said, I'm all right, and everything is as it should be here. And she was very surprised that she met, yes, she was very surprised that she met people she hadn't even expected to see when she arrived in spirit. All right. She's also saying, don't worry about the, you've had a cough that's been fairly persistent. She said, don't worry too much about the chest condition, because that will be better. The more you breathe and the deeper you breathe, the more you'll be able to cope with problems that life throws at us. All right? And I hope you understand that, Maxine, and that was your message. Thank you. All right, just have a drink. Coming back to our congregation here. All right. Shirley, I'd like to come to you, please. I have a lady in spirit, would have been on a friendship link, and she's given me the name of Sally, or Sal, from years back. All right. Okay. Were you connected, or did you live at one time around the area of Tooting or Balham? Your mother did? All right, because I would have put this lady at the same sort of age as your mum. All right, and I think she's somebody that would have come when you were living with your mum. She's a lady that would have come in and out of the home. No, but irrespective of that, she would have come in and out of the home that you shared with your mum. Sally, well, we'll get to the message because there is a relevance to this. But she's also giving me a strong smell of violets, because she said that was something that your mum really liked, the violets. And she's talking about the fact that your dad, at one point, grew some vegetables. Yes, because she's talking about how eating at that time or that period was considered to be, or she considers it to be a lot better than it is now, because she said there was homegrown produce. And she said, I maximized on that. So she said, I was quite a stout lady. And she got what is, or used to be called dropsy. All right. Yeah. Because she's relating to the fact that from time to time you've had, not dropsy, but you've had problems with your legs and swelling and whatever. Okay. She says also your mum, because she's linking with your mum, although your mum's not coming forward at the moment, but she's saying your mum loved the singing voice. Loved singing. She's even talking about opera. I'm not talking about high opera or grand Wagnerian opera. I'm talking about lighter opera like Puccini, very melodic. She's talking about your mum and just music generally. But she's talking about how your mum's appreciation of music has developed since she's been in the spirit world. All right? She's also talking about the singer George Formby. All right? And how your mum would have liked George Formby. Did you visit? Oh, no, I'm not going to ask a question. She's saying there was a visit made when you were living with your mum to Yarmouth, or Great Yarmouth. Great Yarmouth. That's in Norfolk, isn't it? No, she's talking about Great Yarmouth. Did you? Oh, okay, because she's definitely talking about Great Yarmouth. Because she's saying that getting down to the seaside and getting to the what used to be the sort of the attractions at the seaside, like the Punch and Judy and the machines and all the rest of it, is something that you very much like. Very much enjoyed. Yes. Now she wants to really, sort of the message she wants to give to you is the fact that she says basically you're far too disapproving of yourself. And she's saying it's about time you gave yourself credit where credit's due. And she said, when you get into the doldrums, it's because you become far too introspective and you start hole picking and finding all sorts of things that are wrong with you. When she said, you need to be thinking more about things that you do for other people that make them feel better with themselves, and focus on that. All right? She's talking about John Wesley, the Presbyterian minister. Yes? Talking about John Wesley. And she said, if you look into the history of John Wesley, you will see a kind of a pattern to his life, which was something that particularly your dad, your father, would have upheld. That principle, that Wesleyan principle. And I think Wesley was connected to the Methodist Church, if I'm right in thinking, yeah. So therefore, his philosophy, Wesleyan philosophy, Methodism, would be something that was very much, I'm not saying your family is necessarily religious in that way, but it would have been a very stabilizing influence around you when you were growing up. You have an aunt in spirit as well, mum's sister? Right, an aunt. Mum's sister. Okay. Yeah. But the crux of this message is that what you're trying to return to now and get to at this point in your life is a much greater emotional, mental stability that would have been around and connected to your life when you were living with the family. And that is what you'd like to now enrich your own life with. Because of all this stuff that's happening around us, disconcerting you, you need to be grounded, you need to have much firmer roots and need to focus on this. She's also talking about lifting your mediumship. And she's saying that, she said, oh yes, pointing to me, she said, you were right about her. She said she needs to get her mediumship moving, she's saying. Go on, girl, move it, she said. All right? Because she's showing me a merry-go-round, a concert, a thing. And she's saying, you're stuck on the merry-go-round. And she said, you need to get off and do your own thing. And she said to me, it's a good job she's being fed properly again. All right. Okay. And Mildred's in spirit as well. Mildred gives you her best wishes. And she's saying you knew a gentleman at one time on the earth plane who was very interested in sort of African ritual. And she's showing me the big warrior shield and the painting on the... Right. Okay. She's saying she wants to see you giving more of the warrior back again, what you used to have, the warrior spirit. Yes? Okay. You've had a little bit of a problem in your throat area here. Yeah. But they're helping you with that, and there's a spirit doctor that comes close into you to help you. Your watch, she says that your watch stopped either last night or yesterday afternoon.
I actually stopped working so that I could give it to my granddaughter.
That's right. She was there watching you. She also says you've taken some embroidery or lacework out of a drawer and you've looked at it again and decided that you want to continue work on it.
No, it's crochet.
Well, whatever. But you've just taken it out and decided you want to do it again. All right. She's talking about a birthday in April, an anniversary in April. Also October for a passing. Okay, she's talking about the passing. And she's saying Jim, who loved the golf, is here in spirit with her. Jim, definitely. All right, so that was your message, Shirley. Thank you very much. Am I overrunning? Oh, I'm on a roller now. Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and thank you for your feedback here, and it's been delightful to work with you, as always. God bless.
Thank you. Okay, so we've had a wonderful morning with Phil with the address and the mediumship. Sorry that I had to say that we were at the end of the service. I know we were some 15 minutes late in starting this morning, so we've gone on that little bit. But I just want to check with Richard if there are any adverts for Spiritual Psychics TV. Is there the afternoon sofa show? Right, wonderful. So everyone will see that now. At 2:30 this afternoon, you've got the Sunday sofa. So that will be a good event to come on. If you've not tried it before, then try it and go onto YouTube and live stream. Okay, and also want to announce that we have a trance demonstration that's coming on for Sunday, so it's tonight at 7:30 with Polly Harnett and Leah Shab? Right, okay, if I've said it right. So you can look onto the website and go into the connections. If you managed it this morning, then you can manage it again this afternoon and this evening for some good different events. And we have Ian Mason joining us for next Sunday, and that will once again be on YouTube. And if you are intending to come to the church, then just let us know so that we know that we've got enough space for you. And Michelle Rodenight has just said, lovely reading. Thank you, Phil, for showing your gift and wisdom. And I want to just plug as well for Wednesday. We have a friendship club, so we have a little bit of a service on a Wednesday, 12 till 2. If you're planning on coming or you want to connect via Zoom, then you can always, email me and find out, how you get into Zoom. It's on Eventbrite. That you can come in on Zoom. I'll win a Sound Brilliant service. Thank you all. And Christine is also an uplifting service. Thanks, Wimbledon, as always. So we have had a lovely service. We very much don't want to have to close the service, but I know there's so much else on, with the Spiritual Psychics TV. And as I say, we will be back on Wednesday for Zoom individuals and also for people then on Skype on Sunday. And I say, just a reminder again that you can give a donation via the PayPal, and you can find that on, by following the right links. And we also physically have our collection boxes here at church. And Kim from Margate, it's a lovely service, and so was Olwyn. So it's wonderful for all of you to be joining us. And as I say, we thoroughly look forward to being part of the community online and here physically. So it's now also to thank Richard James as well, our producer, for helping us being able to keep this going. And we are talking with the idea of possibly having a service, for Christmas Day, but just on YouTube. And we are going to keep our Wednesday group going as long as possible, right through to the 23rd. So more information about that later in the month. And as I say, thank you for joining us. And let's just pass you over to Phil one more time so that we can have the closing service. Thank you.
Please join me in closing prayer. Great Spirit, divine source of all love and caring, we thank you for the opportunity of coming together virtually and in person this morning, and we thank our loved ones and communicators for the messages of love and wisdom that they have imparted today. I ask a blessing on each and every one of you present and all the households herein represented. And as we depart to our homes, for those of us that are here live at the church, we think of all those people who are in circumstances less fortunate than ourselves and unable to attend places of worship or have the advantage of being a virtual member of a congregation. And we ask that their hearts too may be uplifted by their own personal connection with Spirit, and that we may all be conscious in the coming week and weeks ahead that there is always refuge and solace to be found in the love of the Spirit, and also in the sharing of our joy and our fulfillment that has been found through the knowledge that we have of the reality of Spirit, and how that can lift our lives from the mundane to the extraordinary, because that is what we are able to experience now with this understanding, an extraordinary ability to demonstrate our spiritual worth and our spiritual ability to give and also to receive. God bless you. Amen.
And it's a goodbye from myself, Jackie, and also from Ray. So God bless till we see you all again. Take care. Bye.